Yeah. Well, what do you like doing and how does it make you feel? Why do you feel that way? What don't you like doing? How does it make you feel? How does not doing it make you feel? Is there an event or an experience you had that made you dislike this specific thing? What are the things you know about yourself that no one else does? What are the things that you value? What are the things that matter to you? Well, what spiritual beliefs do you have, if applicable? Well, thank you for joining. My name is Panashin Lovu, and I am your instructor for the Personality Development and Leadership course, wherein we'll cover self awareness. We'll talk about building a brand and how you can come up with your own personal brand and manage that brand. Now, today we're going to be talking about self-awareness, which is our first module um, in this course, right? So within this module, we are going to cover three interesting subjects: navigating identity, the self. What is the self in the first place? How can you understand yourself? Secondly, we are going to be talking about self realization. How can you define yourself? And we're going to look at the self concept and practice some self review exercises. Then, lastly, to conclude, we're going to look at personal growth. How can you develop a strong sense of self? And how can you prepare yourself for continuous growth? How can you self develop capacities for reflective practice? Now, coming back to our discussion, what feels and comes naturally to you? Think about it. What are the things you are passionate about? What gets your blood pumping? Ask yourself this question: where do I belong? Well, how do I belong where I belong? What roles do I have in these places where I belong? What unique contributions am I capable of making? What contributions do I make? And this can be anything, right? What makes you you? What is your unique way of expressing yourself, right? Now, ask yourself this question: what makes me me? Who am I? Take a minute to think about it. Who am I? What is unique about me? Right? Write down all the things that come into your mind as you continue to ask yourself this question. Now, as you continue to write down all the things that are coming to your mind, I'd like us to talk about the self briefly, right? Let's define the self. What is the self? When someone is asking you to talk about yourself, what do they mean exactly? What is the self in the first place? Right? So the self is about your own individualness, your individual mental and emotional experiences, how you see yourself in those experiences, and how you make meaning out of those experiences. Now, the word experience can immediately draw us to things that have happened before, right? But experience means undergoing something right now, for example, some time back, continuously into the future, and in the future, right? So, when talking about yourself, we simply refer to you as a subject of your own reflection. In other words, you looking at or seeing yourself from your own perspective. Now, your identity is what makes up and defines this sense of self. And it's quite a lot to take in, right? Now, let's talk about understanding yourself. For this, I'd love to pose a question to you, right? How do you self identify? What identities do you have, right? As you think about this question, I'd love for you to think about what connects you to your inner self, right? Remember that self awareness starts with your own understanding of the self that is you. Let's focus on helping you find your identity, then defining these identities. But first of all, let's talk about why it is important for you to understand yourself. Remember that the unique value proposition that you will make to the world is a part of a story that reflects your unique experiences, how you have processed these experiences, and what you have made of all this. Your identity affects the way you see yourself and what you believe about yourself. And this is called self concept. And we'll talk about this in a minute, yeah? And your own self esteem. In order for you to articulate your unique value proposition, you need to first of all develop a sense of self identity, right? Your own personal identity. What you believe about yourself is what distinguishes you from start by helping you reflect on yourself and become. Now, the self awareness module establishes the strong foundation you will need to identify your brand and articulate your brand and develop the mind based leader as you lead from within. This means adopting moral values as the basic standards and go to God. Understanding why you're doing things, why you do it like that. And before doing that, asking yourself if that actually contribute to you, promote cohesion and mutual understanding, and build peaceful relations. One of the benefits of understanding yourself, you learn to be confident. Being confident means knowing that you've got this. That you will tell yourself that you have the ability and capabilities to achieve what you set out to do because you actually know these capabilities. When challenges come to test this, you will easily master the courage from within to face it, to challenge it back, but most importantly, to process that challenge. Now, processing it means approaching challenges with an open mind because you know that you're neither conceding to it nor losing yourself by doing so. It means knowing that you are becoming stronger as you learn new things about solving problems such as that one, and as you learn new things about your untapped skills and sides of you based on your own response to that challenge. Now, we are not going to give a concrete definition of identity and what it means because our goal is to help you define your own identity, right? You should not stick to the Now, we are not going to give you a concrete definition of identity and what it means, because our goal is to help you define your own identity. You shouldn't confine yourself to the limitations of someone else's ideas, thoughts, and research. Rather, you get to decide who you are and the ideal self you hope to be. Now, as you are thinking about this, I'd like to share a few things that might be helpful. I think your identity is also about the things that help you connect to your inner self, your own sense of individuality. By that, we mean something that is particular to you, something that makes you happy, that connects you to your values, and helps you understand who you are better. Think about your unique way of thinking, the feelings, behaviors, or actions, thoughts, expressions that feel natural to you. Or let me just add something, yeah? That effortlessly and easily feel natural to you. All right. Remember, we are focusing on you, not your mom, not your dad, not your siblings, but you. Again, what's the one thing that just occurs naturally to you? And don't worry about anything at all. This is your space. Think about it. What things give you peace of mind is you are doing them. What things give you joy as you're doing them? What things get you excited as you're doing them? Write the different things that you would say are the different parts that make up you. What are the different sides you have? To explore what different identities you have, you can start to think about the different areas of your life. Write down what you would say are the different areas of your life. Right. Let's talk about your values, your unique way of seeing the world, or what may be known as worldview. Let's talk about your qualities, your interests, and your relationships. Because again, these make up an important part of your identity, right? Let's think about it for a minute. Now, before we move on to the next exercise, we'll talk about these specific components of identity, right? Now, think about your values for a minute. Think about your interests, the things that make you happy, the things that are specific to you, the things that are unique to you, the things that interest you, right? The things that interest you, right? Things that make you happy, the relationships that you have. Well, let's start by looking at values. Values? What are the things you care about? Right. And But values can be understood as the desirable goals that motivate your actions and the reason for doing this. Think about how a certain way of doing something feels just right. That's a value. Understanding your own values, the things you care about, will help you define and articulate your purpose. Right. Think about some of the things that make that are so important to you. Is it love? Is it peace? Right. Is it excellence? Is it growth? Is it knowledge? Is it your connection to your family? Is it the sense of community that you often experience? Are they the relationships that you have? Is it your health and well being? Is it social justice? Is it friendship? Is it resilience? Think about it for a while, yeah? Right. Now that we've briefly looked at values, let's talk about your unique way of seeing the world, or what may be known as worldview. Right. But before we do that, let's go back to a certain moment in time where you felt proud of yourself for having done something in a certain way. What did you do? And how exactly did you do this? Yeah. What made you feel proud of yourself? Think about an event where you felt content with yourself. What brought this contentment? Think about it. Some of these instances will really help you understand some of the things that matter to you, some of your own values, right? Now let's segue into your worldview. So your worldview is your unique way of seeing the world. What is your unique way of seeing the world? And how do you see yourself in that world? What or where do you find meaning in? What makes you feel grounded and secure? Let's talk about your culture. Your culture is an important part of your um, identity, right? So, what does your cultural identity mean to you? How do you see and understand it? What are some of your beliefs? What do these beliefs mean to you? Do you know why you believe in what you believe in? Write down, right? What comes across as true to you? What is the difference between something that is true and something that is false to you? What's your definition of a good thing and a bad thing? Why do you see it that way? Think about it. Let's think about it for a short while, yeah? Think about it. Let's think about it, yeah? Think about it. Think about it, yeah? Right. Right. Now let's talk about your qualities, right? What set of behaviors express who you are as a person? What way of doing things expresses your unique way of thinking? What are the things you are also known for, right? Well, if you're comfortable seeing it from this perspective, yeah? Right. Think about it. Here is an, activity that I'd like to recommend you for this reflection, yeah? Um, think about two or three people who you believe know you really well. Doesn't necessarily have to be your family members, yeah? Now, ask those three people to write down the first few words that come to their mind when they think of you. Ask them to fold that paper and hand it over to you. Now, I'd like for you to reflect on the feedback that you got, right? When you get that feedback, yeah? Are some of these descriptions true about you, according to you, right? Think about it. Again, remember, these are their opinions of you, right? If it doesn't feel true to you or about you, then you don't have to uphold them, right? Remember, it's all about you. Having said that, what personal characteristics make you feel like you are you when you're expressing them, right? Going back to identity, reflect on these qualities, right? On each of these qualities. Um, are there specific past events where you express these qualities? How does each of these qualities, pick about 10, yeah, impact or um, affect how you see yourself? How does this make you feel? Remember, you don't have to restrict yourself and or your identity to certain descriptors because you're more way than that. Yeah. Think about it for a while. Now we're going to segue into your interests. Yeah. Let's think about interests. The interests that you have, the things that excite you, right? Let's think about this for a while. Yeah. What are the things that excite you? Think about it. About it for a while. Yeah. Right. What are the things you're curious about? What things easily, grab your attention? What are some of your hobbies? What things do you enjoy doing? What are you passionate about? What do you like doing? What specific feelings are evoked when you're doing or thinking about these things? Why do you feel this way? And it's also okay if you know a few, yeah? You will even discover more interests as you connect with new environments and experiences, yeah? Now let's segue into relationships, right? What relationships do you have within your family, with other people, right? With friends, friendships, romantic relationships, right? What are your roles within these relationships? How would you describe each of these relationships? Think about how you see yourself in these relationships. Well, what other roles do you have outside the relationships you have identified above? Describe these roles. What feelings are evoked as you fulfill these roles, both negative and positive? What experiences have you had within these roles, both positive and negative? Feel free to pause the video and think about it for a while, yeah? Think about it. Take your time, yeah? Take your time, yeah? Take your time to think about it. Now, for the next activity, I'd recommend autobiography writing, yeah? So, in addition to helping you connect to your individual identity, writing an autobiography will help you know and understand what unique self journey you are on. So, think about some of your childhood memories. What are some of your highlights? Yeah. What are some of the moments that you recall? Yeah. Some of the moments of your life that have made an impact on you, both positive and negative. Yeah. In chronological order, write important life experiences and events that have affected your life. Think about some of the things that you're going to write in your autobiography. Yeah. Right. Right. Think about it. Okay. I think there was a technical fault. So I'm just gonna start off. Just going to go back a bit so that we can catch up, right? So I'm just gonna find where we lost each other. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna start from worldviews. Yeah. I think that's where the network glitch happened. Right. Let's talk about worldviews a bit. Yeah, as part of a core part of your identity. Right. So remember, we have said that your worldview refers to your unique way of thinking, your unique way of seeing the world. Um, remember, um, yeah, how you see yourself in this world and where you find meaning in it. What makes you feel grounded and secure? Yeah. What does your cultural identity mean to you? And how do you see and understand it? Hmm. All right. What are some of your beliefs? What do these beliefs mean to you? All right. Do you know why you believe in what you believe in? Right. Write down um, some of these things. For the next reflection, what comes across as true to you? What is the difference between something that is true and false. What's your definition of a good thing and a bad thing? Why do you see it that way? Think about it for a while, yeah? All right. Let's talk about your qualities. What set of behaviors express who you are as a person? What way of doing things expresses your unique way of thinking? What are the things you are also known for, right? So, for this reflection, I would recommend um, a quick activity, right? Reach out to about 2 or 3 people who you believe know you really well. Doesn't necessarily have to be your family members. Now, ask them to write the first few words that come to their mind when they think of you. Ask them to fold that paper, right? And hand it over to you. Now, reflect on the feedback you got. Are some of the descriptions do some of the reflections you got feel true to you? Think about it for a while, yeah? Right. Um, remember, these are their opinions of you. So if it doesn't feel true about you, right, then you don't have to uphold them, right? Remember, it's all about you. Having said that, what personal characteristics make you feel like you are you when you're expressing them, yeah? Um, Now, going back to identity, reflect on each of these qualities. Are there specific events where you expressed these qualities? How does each of these qualities, pick about 10, yeah, impact how you see yourself? How does this make you feel? Remember, you don't have to restrict yourself and or your identity to certain descriptors because you are way more than that, yeah? Let's talk about your interests. Hmm. Okay, so I'm just gonna. All right, I think there was a network glitch again. All right, so we're talking about qualities, yeah? This set of behaviors that express who you are as a person, right? So for this activity, I'd recommend reaching out to about 2 people who you believe know you really well. Doesn't necessarily have to be your family members. Now ask them to write the first few words that come to their mind when they think of you. Ask them to fold that paper and hand it over to you. Now I'd like for you to reflect on the feedback you got. Are some of these descriptors true about you, according to you? Again, remember, these are their opinions of you. If it doesn't feel true about you, right, um, then you don't have to uphold them, right? Remember, it's all about you. Having said that, what personal characteristics make you feel like you are you when you're expressing them? Going back to identity, reflect on each of these qualities. Are there specific past events where you express these qualities? How does each of these qualities, speak about 10, yeah, impact how you see yourself? How does this make you feel? Remember, you don't have to restrict yourself and or your identity to certain descriptors because you're way more than that, yeah? Let's talk about your interests. What are the things that you're curious about? What things easily and immediately grab your attention? What are some of your hobbies? What things do you enjoy doing? What things are you passionate about? Why do you like doing what you like? What specific feelings are evoked when you're doing or thinking about these things? Why do you feel this way? So it's also okay to know if you, right? Because you will even discover more interests as you connect with new environments and experiences. For the last part, let's talk about relationships. Yeah, what relationships do you have within your family, with other people, friends, friendships, romantic relationships? What are your roles within these relationships? How would you describe each of these relationships? Think about how you see yourself in these relationships. What other roles do you have outside these relationships? Describe these roles. What feelings are evoked as you fulfill these roles, both negative and positive? What experiences have you had within these roles, both positive and negative? Feel free to pause and think. All right. So, for the next activity, for the next step, now that you've identified your relationships, your qualities, your interests, right? Here is an activity that might help you to reflect even deeper. In addition to helping you connect to your individual identity, writing an autobiography will help you know and understand what unique self journey you are on. Think about some of your childhood memories. What are some of your highlights, some of the moments of your life that have made an impact to you, both positive and negative? In chronological order, write important life experiences and events that have affected your life. So when starting, right, it might feel as if some of the things you're writing are not making sense. Right. But one of the things I'd like to share with you is that writing is a process. So everything doesn't have to make sense when you start, yeah? As you continue to write, continue to ask yourself how each of these events made you feel and why they made you feel that way. As you do so, you open the door to deeper reflection and healing. Right. Right. Now let's move on to the next aspect. Now that you've identified and understood the different sides of you, let's take another step, defining your identity. As we segue into this discussion, I'd like for you to think about your ideal version. Right. Your ideal self. Who is the ideal self you hope to be? Where you are, right, in that journey. Right. Think about it for a while, yeah? To help you dive deep into these profound questions, we'll look at the self concept and do some helpful self review exercises, right? The self concept. Remember that the self concept is about what you believe about yourself. So, to explore this, we will use Carl Rogers' self concept theory, hmm, right? Which talks about the ideal self, which talks about self image and self esteem. Let's do a quick reflection. What do you believe to be true about yourself? Hmm, think about it. Ask yourself these three questions, right? Firstly, ask yourself, who is the ideal self I hope to be? When you think of an ideal version of you, what comes to your mind? Right. Secondly, think about your self image, your current self perception. How do you see yourself? Think about your attributes, values, and traits. Lastly, think about your own sense of self worth. What do you think about your value as a person? Right. Think about it for a while, yeah? Think about it and write down some of the things that are coming to your mind as you're thinking. Right. So let's do this quick activity to help you think about this. Right. Let's talk about writing a self narrative. So, writing a self narrative will help you to reflect and express, right? Note the expression part is really important. So, writing a self narrative will help you to reflect and express your sense of self and your values, right? But before we do so, yeah, let's talk about why it is important for you to write your personal statement or a narrative, right? Self narrative. So, writing a self narrative will help you to reflect and express, as we have said, your sense of self. So, you might wonder, how do I know if I'm writing the right thing? Well, the answer to that is there is no right or wrong as long as it is true to you. That's the number one rule. The second most important thing is being able, right, to express that truth. It's about telling the story of your growth. Your focus should be on the process. How did your growth or transformation come about? Again, this is the space for you to be yourself and express your own uniqueness in your own way. There is no right or wrong or ideal self narrative. And remember, you don't have to complete your self narrative all at once because it is your self narrative and you're creating your information to add every day. But we will come back to this in the next module, yeah? Think about something that has made an impact on you. Is it an event, a particular background, circumstance, or even a thing that you're good at? Think about what has shaped who you are. Could be a specific event or idea that has helped you discover yourself. As you write, I'd like for you to focus on the feeling you experienced. Is there any specific event that made an impact on you? What would you say was your point of great change? What are some of the experiences you've had? Is there a significant challenge that made you think that way? Right? Think about it for a while, yeah? What was the hardest challenge you ever faced and how did it impact you? How did you overcome it? So, this is the space, your space, to share your unique way of thinking. Reflect and think about something that defines you, that has shaped who you are, and clearly share how this has defined and shaped who you are. And finally, be vulnerable, be honest with yourself. Think about, jot down some of the things that you would like to include in your personal statement. Think about it. Remember, focus on being yourself. Focus on your truth. What comes across as true to you and only you. What is that one thing that makes you feel like you? That is so natural that you just enjoy it. You just enjoy it. It just feels right. That's it. That is you. Right? Think about it for a while. Now, for the next activity, as you think about what you're going to write in your personal narrative or self narrative, like for us to segue to the next activity. So the purpose of the personal statement was to help you self-reflect and attain clarity on your own sense of self. Remember that discovering your identity is a lifelong journey. So to complement the activity which you've just started, we'll look at the Johari window. So the Johari window is a model that was developed by Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham in 1955 to explore group dynamics. In other words, personal relationships with selves and with others. So this self-review exercise uses the disclosure model of self-awareness, which means getting to know about yourself through feedback from yourself and others. Yeah. It is a representation of the self through 4 quadrants, which include the open self, the hidden self. Here, right, the blind self, and finally, the unknown self. Let's look at the first quadrant, open self. Right? For the open self, I'd like for you to think about the things about you that both you and others know. Think about it for a while and write down, yeah? Jot down, yeah? What are those things that yourself, right, you know and others know about you? Let's take it further. Think about the hidden self. What are the things about you that you know, but others don't know? Let's call it, maybe we can call it a secret. What are some of the secrets you have? Think about it and write them down in this quadrant. Let's move on to the blind self. What are the things about you that you don't know but others do know? Write down. You don't know these things, but others do know. If you are to ask them, they will tell you. Right? For this, I'd like for you to reflect on the feedback that you would have received in the earlier activity, where you were, requesting the people who know you really well to tell you about some of the qualities that they think you have. Now, lastly, let's talk about the unknown self. What are the things that about you that neither you nor others know? Right? Right. To complete this activity, reflect on your thoughts, your feelings, actions, skills, and some of the things that make you unique. Jot them down. What are the feelings that both you and others know? What are actions, right? What are the actions about you that your behavior? What certain way, what certain behavior do others know, but you don't know about it, right? Let's talk about the unknown self. So the unknown self is unknown, right? Right. So remember that discovering your identity, your abilities, and capabilities is a lifelong journey, right? So you don't have to know. One of the most rewarding ways to unlock this quadrant is by doing the things you love and pursuing passion, which will direct you towards unleashing your potential. And we're going to look into this in the next topic, yeah? Right. To conclude our discussion for today, we're going to look at personal growth. Now that you've um, tuned into your identity, now you understand your qualities, you understand the relationships you have, why you have those relationships, and what growth you have within those relationships. I'd like for us to think about how can you develop a strong sense of self. Now that you understand yourself, you understand and you connect to your individual sense of self. I'd like for us to talk about how can you strengthen this? How can you develop a strong sense of self and prepare yourself for continuous growth? All right. So, again, now that you have an understanding of the ideal self you are becoming, it is important for you to make a commitment. Right? Make a commitment. Make a commitment. Right? Make a commitment to that and be clear on the actual steps you're going to take going forward towards becoming the ideal self you hope to be. Again, make a commitment to become who you want to be. You won't change, right? You won't realize that change you hope for, right? Unless you make a commitment to become who you want to be and change your way of doing things every day. That's how you change. Change your way, right, of doing things every day to become the ideal self you envision and dream and develop a strong relationships with yourself. One of the activities I've found to be helpful is recording a video journal or video diary whenever you can. Right? So, a video diary is a personal video recording you can make focusing on yourself, your thoughts throughout the day, and opinions. Remember, the important thing is just to be yourself as you're doing this, yeah? Just focus on being yourself. Just focus on the feelings, right? And you can do this maybe twice, thrice, every day, right? Hmm. Look right into the lens of your camera, right? And say who you see yourself becoming in the future. And that future starts now. Say just about anything that comes to your mind. After a few hours, play the video and play it almost constantly over the next few days, right? This will help you to develop a strong relationship with yourself and get to know yourself better, right? So think about it for a while, yeah? Think about it. Now, so I, so I used to enjoy this telecast on Star Life. It was called, yeah, My Identity. Yeah, it was about this young girl was born. She was raised by a mom, right? And that it wasn't really supportive, but it was mainly because of her grandmother, right? Her father's dad, her father's mom, right? She was against the marriage, right? She wasn't supportive, and as a result, they divorced. They never married, right? Yeah, they divorced. Yeah. So it always got to her that it made her feel like not having that not having a dad, it always made her feel better about herself, and she always felt like yeah, she didn't deserve to be right. And on one occasion, the grandmother actually said, you are an illegitimate child, right? An illegitimate child, right? And that got to her, right? But she came to a point, she came to a time when she started to say, when she started to self-actualize and realize things about herself. So there was this time when she actually went to Miss Dev Antimatter. So her grandmother was Dev and Meta, right? She went to Dev Antimatter's house and she was like, I want to see Miss Dev Antimatter, right? Right? And I was like, hey, Miss Dev Antimatter, you will be known by my name, right? So one of the things that it affected her, right, was that because her parents were not married, right? It sort of like felt like yeah, it sort of like impacted her in a way that she could not have her dad's surname because they were not married and because of the pressure of society, right, and all of those things. So it would always affect her, as she would look um at other kids, right, and compare herself, right? But but she came to a point whereby she actually decided to name herself Avni Aisha. Aisha was her mom's first name, right? But it doesn't end there. Later on, she formally adopts this name and becomes her own independent person, right? So what are the things we can learn from this? We can learn that society doesn't have to dictate your identity because it is your personal identity. You get to decide who you want to be, right? What one of the things that you can also learn is to make a commitment to that identity. She even went on to make that name formal, that name a legal name, right? So make a commitment to the identity that you carve out for yourself, right? And stick to it. Stick to it. Yeah. Now, to look into this, how you can make a commitment to your identity and how you can develop a strong sense of self, we will talk about needs. So these are the things that are essential for you to become the ideal self you hope to be, right? So to define these needs, we will explore the Clover model. So the Clover model is a developmental process theory of social emotional learning, providing an insight into the essential competences required for individuals to thrive in life from their infancy, right, through their child adulthood, right? So it is important for you to understand your needs, right? Because these are the things that you have to look at, to address, right? As you make a commitment to that identity, find your unique way of meeting these needs. So, what are some of the things that you need to thrive? You need a sense of belonging and community. You need um, the ability to reflect. You need reflection, right? You need being to be able to make meaning, draw insight, and think about yourself. You need active engagement, being able to connect with your environment. You need assertiveness, having your own voice and expressing that voice, right? In conclusion, you can develop a strong sense of self and pursue growth by finding new ways to meet these needs and embrace the new things you learn about yourself as you do so, right? Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is what I had to share with you today. I hope that this will be helpful for you as you continue to reflect and as you continue to think about your future self, right? And as you make a commitment to becoming that future self you envision and you hope to be, right? So stay tuned as we look at further um, chapters, as we look at future modules, right? We'll look at building a brand. We'll look at personal branding and brand management, wherein we'll look at personal branding practices, basic soft skills training to set you up for success. And we also look at leading from within. How do you lead from within? How do you become more intentional in the way you do things? I hope that today's foundation has been helpful for you. Yeah. Remember personal branding. Remember that um, self realization is a journey, it's a lifelong journey. Building a brand is a journey, right? Leading from within is a journey. What's important is that you open up to learning new things. You open yourself up to learning new things about yourself, new ideas, and you incorporate those into your practices, and you become better, and you come up, you generate new information, new meaning, and you become a better person and you excel in whatever you set out to do. I thank you.